Hi, episode number 15, and today, close. Oh, what a time we are living in. So today, starting with chapter 17, entitled, I Am Ready. Pam sat on her bed. Her thoughts were of the day. Lately, her life had been full of good things. She was meeting people, hearing ideas, watching events come together as if some larger-than-life hand of benevolence was at play. People were moving into her life in perfect ways. Some would call the situations coincidences. Pam called them miracles. Today had been that. Pam had wanted to help Jerry. She closed her eyes and called the shadow and her team of spiritual friends, healers, and teachers. I see Jerry healed of this traumatic event in her life. She gives voice to her wonderful gifts in ways that enrich all of society. She is honored, respected, and loved for being herself. I help in the most divine ways for her. Show me how. With that thought, Pam closed her eyes and gave way to peaceful sleep. The next week, Pam and Jerry decided to go to a nearby park to study. As they walked, Pam said, something is quieting about being in nature. It takes me away from the rush of people. During the past few years, I haven't spent as much time just being quiet with trees and grass as I would have wanted. Jerry began. You may think it's rather strange, but I can see energy waves around the trees. I don't think it's strange, said Pam. She gravitated to a mammoth oak tree and leaned back against it. I believe in energy. I think it's everywhere and through everything. Well, I've come to believe that we live in a gigantic energy environment. Some frequencies are so fast that we cannot see them, and some are so slow that they appear to be solid. I think that all that is here on the planet are physical forms that come from seeds or patterns in the unseen regions of that energy environment. Sometimes I've seen colors too. During the last 10 years, the energy of many situations felt heavy. Sometimes it even had an odor, and often it was a gray haze over things. Jerry was amazed. She sat down on the grass at the roots of the tree. Jerry had thought that her views were so unusual that she would live her life alone in a world no one else saw. And here was Pam putting words to much of what she'd experienced. What's the matter? Asked Pam, afraid she had, in her excitement, said too much. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I've seen or felt those things since I was very little, and no one believed me. My parents told me never to speak of them. You don't know how good it feels to hear you put words to it. Jerry laughed from the relief. They giggled and began to share what they had been unable to tell anyone else. Do you ever see? One would begin. I once saw, and always there was a nod of agreement, and at times laughter or tears at long-held thoughts, perceptions, and emotions. Inner walls burst and melted away. The sun was moving behind a cloud, and the robins sang to one another as they extracted worms from the grass. Then Pam shared what had happened to her that Friday so many years ago. Her tears invited Jerry's tears. Quietly, Jerry began telling about her rape. Pam could see the pain on Jerry's face and hear it in her voice. Of course, her rape was still a raw wound, screaming to be heard and healed. They held each other until the tears were gone. I am so angry and feel so powerless, sobbed Jerry. What have you done to get past it? I didn't do anything for a long time. I lived with it day and night. The rape by my stepfather and the lack of protection from my mother colored my life and my decisions. until I screamed to die. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. When the pain had gotten so bad that I wanted to die, I was desperate. I screamed out for help. I guess being on the streets was fortunate in one way. It disconnected me from social systems. That was good, and yet not good. Who could I trust, and where could I go? For some unknown reason, the voice of one I had come to call Shadow began comforting and encouraging and guiding me. With the help of that voice, I tried other ways of seeing and acting. It was like trying on an idea to see what happened. What came from those spiritual friends in worlds beyond this one really helped. I'd be interested in knowing more about that, responded Jerry as she got to her feet. But I think we better call it a day for now. My mom will be wondering where I am. She's especially concerned about my welfare since it happened. Could we get together again and talk? Oh, I understand, said Pam, as she stood and lifted her books. She said to Jerry, and yes, I'd love to help in any way possible. It's been wonderful to talk with you. I can't tell you what it means to me, Jerry said, as she shouldered her backpack and they walked from the park. As they parted, Jerry took a pencil from her pocket. Let me give you my phone number. Give me a call. I want to talk about how you've dealt with your pain. Pam called Jerry the next morning. Hi. I thought it would be a good idea to exchange schedules. That way we can plan some time when we can talk again. That's a good idea. Actually, today is a free day for me. How is today for you? Jerry responded. Great. What about the park again? At 10? Sure, but let me pick you up. Okay, see you at 10. And Pam hung up the phone. When Jerry pulled up to the center in her mom's car, Pam was waiting out front. After Pam parked, she and Jerry began walking into the park. I don't know exactly where to start. I haven't applied my processes to anyone else, Pam said. I thought I would just start with whatever ideas come up in my mind. I brought my notebook so that I can keep track of what you say, Jerry said. Well, this should be interesting, laughed Pam. They found a quiet spot and Pam began sharing her story. Jerry was fascinated. She wrote, asked questions, and occasionally stopped Pam to think about what she had said. Pam went over what she had already told Dr. James. And other information came back to her with Jerry's questions. I learned a lot that helped me to see life on this planet differently, Pam concluded. It helped me to heal my pain and take back my life. I'd like to put that information into a form that would help others. Well, I'd like you to work with me, said Jerry. After today, my schedule gets pretty busy with my college projects, and I'd like to go over these notes I've taken. Maybe we can get together in a few weeks down the road. Well, said Pam, with my studies for the GED and your college commitments, both of our schedules are pretty full. When are your projects due? Some have to be in by the middle of next month, answered Jerry. Well, that will give me time to think through what helped me and ask how the same might help you. Let's just call in the angels to show the way and plan to get together on the 15th of next month. Jerry laughed. They'd call in the angels. Jerry's notes, July 2nd. As I listened to Pam's information, I had a greater understanding of the words spoken by the Master Jesus. I am beginning to see that when Christ said, your faith has made you whole, and ask and ye shall receive, he was speaking truth. My faith in divinity is pretty weak, and I have forgotten how to access any ability to be happy and maybe even complete. I see results of human visions or faith-centered in projects, lack of pain, rather than much of a connection to a soul's essence of peace and health. I don't know how to live differently, so I've isolated myself. It seems that what Pam is saying or knows, the steps was given to be happy and at peace, are what she's willing to share with me. She will be asking for help in applying what she's received. She says that work will be in a language that is understandable to my team of masters and healers. Well, I'm ready for this. Chapter 18, Power in the Unseen. Pam began spending hours in the common area at the center. She was usually alone. It was quiet and gave her space to think. Pam listened to the inner teachers, wrote, called to mind what her spiritual friends had done for her. She asked questions as how to put the information into forms that would allow her to work with Jerry. At the end of the second week, she went to Dr. James's office. She wanted to run the ideas past him for his feedback. He was not in when she knocked, and so she left a note folded and taped to the door. She wrote, "Dear Dr. James, I met a young woman, Jerry Hall, at the library. I think she is the friend that you mentioned to me. We've talked a lot already, and she has asked me to help her with some of the things I know. If you have time, I'd like to talk with you, maybe this evening. Thanks, Pam." Rory came by after work. He found Pam in her room and knocked on her open door. "Hi, I got your note. Is now a good time to talk?" "Sure is," Pam answered. Pam picked up some papers and followed Rory out the door. They walked down the hall together. "I'm guessing that Jerry Hall is the friend you mentioned to me. Am I right?" asked Pam. "You're correct," laughed Rory. "I'm a little surprised. Your angels are pretty powerful to have brought you two together so quickly." "I know they are," Pam responded. "And look what I had to go through to be ready to help her," she joked. "I really like Jerry. She's a warm and sensitive person." Rory nodded his agreement. He had known that his interactions with Pam and Jerry would not be usual. His training was to listen neutrally, and yet he was actively pursuing Pam's experience and information. She had climbed her mountain of challenge and pain with concepts outside of his knowledge. One part of himself warmed of danger, while another was putting on sturdy hiking boots, ready to scale the heights. Her laughter at the magic and his sincere desire to be of greater help and capacity for those who came to him invited him to risk the climb. Sitting in his office, Pam began, "Well, even though the immediate goal is to heal Jerry's trauma from the rape, I know there is an even greater purpose. That is to allow her to reconnect to her divine inner divinity, her spiritual energy, and access the love it produces for her place in her mission. I know disconnects within her body circuitry must be addressed. However, I was told that it is essential to start with the heaviness caused by her current issues. That means we will look at the events in this life, experiences and patterns from previous lifetimes on Earth as the circuitry is addressed. Then family tendencies and particular social cultures that have impacted her. Like the rest of humans, her traumatic experiences have strengthened discordant energy vibrations. Those imbalanced energies act as a blanket over our minds, over our emotions. So clearing the density will give her more clarity. One thing I was told as I began my walk out of pain is that our problems do not have their beginnings in our present lives. The trauma from old experiences, even reaching out before Earth, is stored in vibrational parts of ourself, group psyches, and then it affects our current lives. We have forgotten those old patterns, lost the knowledge of how to reach into our complex regions of unconscious to heal all that resides there. When patterns, thoughts, feelings, or behaviors appear from long ago. They seem to make no sense in our current lives. The manifestations seem to come from nowhere. These ancient wounds are not accessed by physical senses of sight, sound, hearing, touch, and taste. Therefore, we often feel trapped in patterns that we appear powerless to change. When there's so much accumulated energy from pain, harshness, hardships, individuals see life through dark glasses. They listen with muted ears that cannot hear, and the situations escalate. Mistakenly, we see the escalation of these manifesting of the problems, and we use control to stop the actions, and we find numbing devices to dull our senses. But in that state, we are in denial, and the patterns roll on, escalating and out of control. Darkness from these unhealed energy imprints and vibrations surround this planet. Our energy is contaminated. It's the environment in which we birth. This toxic energy environment is true for all of us. Our individual fields become denser as over time we experience more and more negative situations. To the degree that we are not taught how to hear any faint remnants of spiritual connections, we get lost in external voices, parasitic overlays, and swept away by hidden seeds and patterns. Generally, we are not encouraged to know or to value or to make good choices to strengthen that individual identity, because all energies interweave. One sabotaging event in the present will have many long ago beginning points. Those healers who worked with me began with my first earth experience. They moved forward to the present one, and then they did this for me over a period of 4 years. During that time, the distorted and entrapping energy of my life force from beyond earth was addressed. We went very carefully. And last night they said they would do the same for Jerry. They'll work carefully over several months, always with the intention to powerfully transform without a great deal of discomfort. We'll start with the extensive clearing of her energy bodies, and after that, they will work with me to help Jerry release trauma from experiences like the rape. During this work, her divine circuitry will, within the physical bodysuit, will be reestablished, which includes the entire system of evolutionary codes in the DNA. The spiritual communication center will also be cleared, stabilized, and secured. Rory was cautious. Although Rory only partially understood what Pam was saying, he was confident in what he saw in Pam, that the patterns and cycles damaging his clients were of long standing. He had no doubt. He had seen that over the years. You know, I understand a very small portion of what you're saying, don't you? He laughed. My concern is that she be safe. Will this be done in ways that will assure her safety? Also, where? Well, they worked on me while I was in quiet spaces. Often it was at night or sometimes when I was at the park. I was told that the energy field of Mother Earth is dominant in creating safe space. I would declare a command for protection. I'd call for total love to surround Jerry during our work. That I'd make requests as her team tells me what is needed. Everything will be under the guidance of Jerry's higher conscious self. In my mind, I will watch the energy fields, listen to her spiritual teams for an indication that the work for her various dimensional bodies is complete, and then a very similar way that they did for me. Of course, it's up to Jerry. However, I would like to be there and have someone with you to watch Jerry's reaction. It's like blazing a new trail. I'm excited as well as a little hesitant, said Rory, but I cannot recommend one way or another. Oh, that's understandable, said Pam. Yes, I'll talk it over with Jerry. Let her talk it over with her parents. Pam's note for the progress to be used with Jerry. I'll call this work Triangle Angelic Grids. And working with beings in spirit, represented by the word angelic, we intend to transform the energy grids, Jerry's energy grids, by releasing negative imprints, removing parasitic attachments, and correcting galactic imbalance. When free from chaos and outsider attachments, sovereignty exists in the field. Sovereignty allows vibrations to self-correct to the soul's divine harmonic frequencies. Restored energy vibrations form triangles. So the basis of all forms of sacred geometric vortexes and patterns are triangles. Heavy energy will always disrupt grids, where healthy energy will always form triangles. And triangles touching triangles cause grids of incredible strength. So triangle angelic grids restoring humanity to their soul's harmonic. So yesterday in the studio, I was in my housecoat pajamas. Today I'm recording with military planes training over me, so we have a little jerky start and stop for that reason. According to the universal law for Earth, requests, declarations from those in physical bodysuits require that those in spirit respond. And so all tag work is done under the direction of the individual's soul and spiritual teams. Tag healing's intentions will consist of a series of requests and declarations. Each request grouping matrix creates energy waves that form a sacred geometric field with vibrations unique to the individual's need. This vortex will consist of specific commands. For example, one will be declarations to eliminate the dense energy stored within, around, and through all vibrational bodies, their spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical regions or bodies. Another matrix will contain commands for activating the divine DNA, correcting the body's circuitry, and reestablishing the spiritual communication center. Note to myself, speak to Shadow to make sure the requests are complete and ask for whatever additional information is needed. Creating statements. Jerry will have to be the one to call for new situations in her life. Her requests will allow greater transformation of old patterns and experiences, because as a man thinketh, so is he. Writing the statements in a journal, it will be my suggestion. The affirmation process will be too slow. So we'll create a process that adds working with her spiritual team and doing changes in the design. We'll add that to the declaration process. Their assistance will cause a shift beyond the conscious mind into the complexity of our multidimensional worlds. So I will have her start with a statement that she creates a new possibility or goal. There is really no right or wrong way to begin, to just begin. The steps ought to be easy. First, Jerry will describe the qualities of or the values, she said, of those who she will work with in the unseen. They must, for example, have wisdom, honesty, commitment, etc. Then she writes a statement, something like, I am safe in communities that value my gifts and insights. Third, she'll ask her spiritual teams to help in energizing the pattern with a statement. Please move my consciousness and the consciousness of all in my world into this new reality. And then they in spirit will make connections into her vibrational bodies to support this choice. Fourth, she will call in her spiritual healing team with a request. Please tag and transform anything that is, has, or would keep me from this new reality. This declaration will allow those in the unseen to look for issues, old experiences that need release and healing in order to restore balanced energy. Tag and transform. Let's use tag and transform as code words that give her spiritual team permission to actively identify seeds and remove them when any discomfort appears in Jerry's life. Tag and transform can be the command to clear energy in a similar way as what I have called a spiritual healing. Should be fun to play with the shorthanded words. Note to myself, as the ancient ones awaken, those on mission, these processes may be the way for them to quickly move out of their states of mind control, denial, and density. They can then lead the way for our planetary shift. More tomorrow.